everybody, and welcome back to Flock Talk. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can teach your bird to wear a harness cooperatively and stress-free. Harness training is a very long and pretty difficult process. I would not recommend starting harness training if you do not have much previous experience training your bird. Your bird should already be comfortable with general body handling and need to have a good basic understanding of how training works. I have done a load of tutorials in the past and have done one specifically on how to get your bird comfortable with handling their wings and body, which will be needed before teaching them how to wear a harness. I will link that down in the description below, as well as a little pop-up card there for you if you're looking for somewhere to get started. For this video, I will be using the Aviator brand harness. I have used other brands of harnesses in the past, and I just wasn't a big fan of them in the long run. Currently, the Aviator is the only one I trust to safely take my birds outdoors. If you are looking into purchasing an Aviator harness, I do have a link down in the description, as well as the code FLOCKTALK, all one word, if you want to save 10% off your order, and a portion does go towards helping out the channel. This training took Newt and I 8 months to achieve. So buckle in, you're going to be in this for the long haul. Before we even think about starting to put the harness on, we need to ensure that our bird is comfortable and confident around the harness itself. If your bird is extremely skittish, you can start this process by just leaving it laying around the room, moving it a little bit closer each day until you're able to handle the harness in a closer proximity. Here with Newt, I am handling the harness on the furthest side of the perch and waiting for him to show any desire to interact with it. That can be looking at it, stepping towards it, touching it, just any curiosity he opts to show on his own and rewarding him for it. You'll notice that I am rewarding him away from the harness, and this is very intentional. Rewarding him away from the harness helps to not only reset the rep so he can reapproach it on his own terms, but it also reduces any conflict. If I were to reward him right beside the harness, he may push himself to approach it despite feeling stressed or scared just to earn that reward. By rewarding him away from the harness, he's able to easily access treats at any distance that he chooses and is comfortable with. Additionally, I am removing the harness at the end of each repetition. Once he walks away to get the treat, I take the harness away. This does two main things. One, he gets to watch the harness approach with each rep, which further desensitizes him to its movements. And secondly, the harness approaching the perch is what kickstarts the ability to earn a reward. This helps him further connect the idea that the harness is what's bringing positive experiences. The harness approaching is now something very exciting because that means that there's now the ability to earn a reward. Every time the harness leaves, the opportunity to earn a reward also leaves. Every time the harness approaches, the opportunity to earn a reward is present, and that just helps further the understanding that the harness is something to look forwards to. We will stick with this step until he is consistently able to approach and touch the harness with his beak without any signs of fear or discomfort. So little things like running away quickly, thinning out, keeping his feet as far away as possible, and stretching for the harness, those would all be signs that he's still uncomfortable and we aren't able to progress. Once we are seeing a lot of confidence, we are ready to move on, and I'm going to utilize the wing strap of the harness to begin to teach Newt how to put his head through the hole. The actual head hole of the Aviator harness is very tight and will be very difficult for your bird to learn with. The wing strap, on the other hand, is fully adjustable, so you can make it as large as your bird needs to feel comfortable placing their head through the hole. Over time, we can gradually make the hole smaller until the behavior is able to be transferred to the actual size of the head hole. To help encourage the head through the hole, I will hold a treat or a target stick on the other side of the loop and try to guide his head through the hole, rewarding for any attempts he makes. He doesn't have to shoot his head all the way through. He can put as little or as much of his head through the strap as he is comfortable doing, and he will earn a treat for the attempts. Over time, I can refine my criteria. I'll start with him getting rewarded for the beak passing through, then the front of the eyes lining up with the strap, then the eyes must pass the strap, then the skull has to fully pass the strap. When refining criteria, you will adjust your reinforcement. The previous criteria you had may earn 1 treat, while the new criteria may earn 2. Once they consistently perform the new criteria, the old criteria will no longer earn a reward. And that's how you're going to keep encouraging them to move forwards onto the next step. Once again, here I am rewarding Newt outside of the harness on the other side of the perch to help reduce any conflict and prevent myself from being accidentally coercive. If I were to use a super high value treat here, like a sunflower seed, and just lure his head through and treat him with his head through that hole, he may choose to grab the treat even though he's massively uncomfortable. and that can make the learning process take even longer. Instead of building a positive reinforcement history with the harness, we would be building one based on a lot of conflict, confusion, and stress. This is a major reason why when people start the harness training, you'll get stuck at this stage and the bird will really quickly jolt their head in, grab the treat, and then back out as fast as possible. For that reason, I'm actually using low value treats for this. I'm just using his pellets. If he does something super awesome and I want to jackpot that behavior, I will either give him a ton of pellets or I will use a higher value treat for that one specific moment, but I will not use a high value treat for the bulk of the learning process. We want to avoid as much of that conflict as possible. Once you're seeing some good comfort with this, you can begin to either tighten the strap or just pinch it so the loop gets a little bit smaller. You're aiming to work at this until the loop is the same size as the actual head hole on your harness. When it comes to putting the head through the actual head hole, I have found that holding it this specific way is the easiest, since it opens the head hole just that little bit more so your bird isn't having to crush their face through these two tight straps. I'm very simply pinching the top and the bottom of the head hole and then rotating my bottom hand just slightly to the left to open up that head hole and make it more accessible. And this is another reason why we're not going to be using a lot of luring, because for a big bulk of this, both of your hands are going to be busy. You are not going to be able to be holding a treat in front of your bird's face the entire time while trying to put on the rest of this harness. So what I'm doing is I have used my hand to guide Newt in the right direction, but I'm not waiting for him to touch the target stick and I'm not making him take the treat from my fingers. I am marking and rewarding when his head is passed through. So instead of him actually following my hand by the end of this, he is actually conscious as to what his body language is doing that's earning him the reward. He is noticing how far through the hole his head is going in order to earn that treat, and that is what's going to shape the behavior, as opposed to me guiding him the entire way through and then getting stuck because now I have to have my hand there the entire time. What you may have noticed here is that I'm already beginning to ask for duration, meaning that I'm asking Newt to hold his head inside the loop prior to earning his treat. As soon as your bird is comfortable putting their head through that hole consistently, you can up your criteria. So instead of jolting the head in and out, you now request the head to pop in, pause, and then out to get the treat. I'm using my hand a distance away to help encourage the duration. Newt pops his head in the hole, I keep my hand visible for him to focus on, and then I move my hand away to cue him to back out of the harness and earn the reward. Initially, you'll be moving your hand quite quickly so the bird is paused for half a second, and then gradually you'll request more and more time. I do not recommend continuous feeding through the harness to try and build duration at this stage, since that tends to just distract them rather than actually teaching them the duration that you're looking for, which is again what gets a lot of people stuck, where the bird will stay in the harness as long as they're eating, but as soon as they're done, they back out, or they just grab the treat and run. The way I'm demonstrating here, the bird is consciously having to think about what's earning them the treat. They're processing the amount of time that's passing, and they're aware of their body movements that are required to achieve the reward. This builds a much stronger understanding of the behavior and will make it more reliable. Once you're getting a consistent understanding of duration, you can start to phase your hand out so your bird no longer needs to watch the hand in order to remain still in the harness. Getting duration here first is important because you will need your bird to hold still for the rest of the harness application. Before we can even think about putting it on, they need to be comfortable with their head in the hole for the amount of time it will take to apply the rest of the harness. An often overlooked aspect of harness training is how much the harness weighs. Birds are designed to be very light and perfectly balanced. So putting a piece of fabric on them will skew their balance no matter how heavy the harness feels to us. So before we start putting the wing straps on, I will begin to gradually lower a little bit of weight onto the bird. This will help them prepare for how the harness will shift their body weight once it's been fully applied. So bit by bit here, I will release a touch more of the harness until I'm able to fully rest it on Newt's back and have him relaxed and comfortable with the full weight of the harness. So I'm dropping the harness onto him lightly, removing it, giving him a treat, and then putting a little bit more weight on with each repetition until I can rest the entire harness on his back. This can also be a good opportunity to encourage a small bit of movement. You may notice your birds sit very parallel to the perch when you start putting the weight on them because the balance feels weird. So by giving them a treat kind of above their head and encouraging them to sit up properly, that can help them feel a bit more comfortable and confident and start to realize how they can move and balance with the harness on them, and this will save you a bit of struggle down the road when you have the harness on them and they haven't sorted out how to cope with that weight yet. The next critical point is understanding how to eat with the harness on. If your bird is able to take treats with the harness on, it will make it easier to precisely reward other harness behaviors down the road. As simple as it seems, some birds do not understand that you can eat with the harness still on and will instead take the treat and back out. To help encourage eating in the harness, I will use micro treats like individual millet seeds that can be quickly swallowed, so they're ready for another before they even have the thought to back out. I will hand each seed one by one so they cannot grab a mouthful, and this way the bird will take the treat, swallow it, and immediately lean forwards to get the next one. Over time, I would work up to larger seeds that involve a bit more chewing, so you can be certain that the bird truly understands how to chew and eat with the harness on. This is just so that way you don't get stuck trying to reward them for wearing the harness later, just to find out that they only think that they can eat when it's not on, and then you're stuck trying to get a harness off quickly in a big panicked mess. Alright, we're heading into the fun stuff. We're getting into the first wing. Without the harness on, I will do a few quick reps of just wing handling to remind Newt of what I will be doing, ensuring that he's still comfortable with the handling, and have him prepared knowing that wing handling could be happening now as to not catch him by surprise and startle him when the harness is on his body. With that out of the way, we will now introduce him to the idea that the harness can be put on and I can touch the wing. All I'm going to do is put his head through the harness and then tap the wing lightly and reward immediately. All I'm aiming to do right now is have him understand that wing handling is an option with the harness, and it's just as easy and comfortable as it is without the harness. During this period, he will be getting used to not only the wing handling, but also your body movements. So far your hands have been pretty stationary, holding the harness over his back. So he is now learning to hold still in the harness despite my hands moving past his head, over his back, and making contact with his wings. I will take the time to just reward him for wearing the harness while my hands are moving around him, not necessarily even touching him. I might wiggle the ring straps or swing the bungee cable, just adjusting him to my general movements and how the harness can move while he's wearing it. As their comfort builds, you can work up the wing handling, so you go from just tapping the wing to touching the primary flight feathers, to lifting it slightly, to fully lifting the wing up. Additionally, I will run mock harness applications where I will move the harness to the tip of the wing, lift up the wing, hold it, and pretend to move the harness under, tighten it, and then put the wing down. This helps him anticipate what the next steps will be prepared for the duration that's needed, and be comfortable with the aspects of the strap's movement and my hand movements without the discomfort of the wing bending or the straps going under his wings quite yet. Now that we have established comfort with the lifting and moving of the wing while wearing the harness, it's time to sort out the actual strap. First off, I want to establish comfort, so I will move the strap along the wing, tap the strap on the wing, and practice the amount of time that will pass prior to needing to grab the wing. So I will reward Newt for me pretending to move the harness, adjusting the loop size, and tap the wing, to ensure that he is comfortable with the wing being handled after several other things have happened, so he's not being caught off guard. Once that comfort is set, we can start actually putting it on. Before you start working with your bird, I would practice how to put it on a stuffed animal or something else, just so the process goes a bit smoother. You'll want to sort out where to best position your own fingers so you're not dropping it or struggling when working with your actual bird. What I opt to do is make the wing hole nice and large, place both my thumb and the index finger through the loop, and then gently grasp the wing and pull it back through the loop. For the first few reps, I'm just going to pass the harness over the tip of the wing and immediately take it off, rewarding massively and repeating that until Newt appears to be confident. As that confidence builds, I will place the harness over the wingtip for longer periods of time. You don't want to place the harness higher up into the wing pit quite yet, as that is quite uncomfortable for a bird who isn't used to it, and on the off chance your bird rapidly decides they need out, having the loop large and near the tip of the wing ensures it can be removed fluidly if the bird tries to fly out, which will reduce a lot of stress and fear since it will stop them from getting stuck in the harness if that happens. The next thing to focus on is the placement of the harness. When it's all properly applied, the wing strap should rest nice and high under the wing pit. If you apply the harness at the tip of the wing and just pull it tight, it will ruffle a lot of feathers and be pretty uncomfortable. So what I like to do is place the strap higher up before I put the wing back down. This way there's minimal feather ruffling. This process is pretty similar to the last. I will raise the wing, tuck the harness under, but this time I will gradually place it higher up into the wing pit with each repetition. At this point, I will begin rewarding for the harness being under the wing, instead of taking the harness off and rewarding at the end of the entire sequence. Now that we're having to build more duration and we want more precise reward timing, we will need him to have the harness under his wing and still be able to stay calm and confident when we tighten it and move on to the other wing. So here I will begin to place it under the wing, treat him, then remove the harness, adding a bit more time between the treat and the removal each time. Now that the harness is able to be placed under the wing comfortably up high in that wing pit, we can begin to tighten the one side. Absolutely do not tighten the harness if you have even a glimmer of a thought that your bird might want to flee. Once that side is tightened, they will not be able to escape easily, and if they try to fly while it's tight, they could really scare themselves, they could end up dangling by the line, and it could reset your training all the way back to square one. This part is pretty simple if you have the wing strap laid down nice and high already. What I like to do is hold the strap tighter with my hand so they will begin to feel the pressure of the harness touching their chest without it actually having been tightened. This way, if they feel that sensation and decide it was too much, it's still easy for you to release the tension in the strap and get them out of the harness. So I will apply the harness under the wing, add a little bit of pressure to the chest just by pinching the strap, reward them, and remove it. Each time I'll add a little bit more tightness, and once they're showing ample comfort with that, we can move on to actually tightening the straps. The same process will apply. I will hold the harness by Newt's back in my right hand, and then I will pull the loose wing strap with my left hand to properly tighten it. Again, the first few reps, I will pull it just a little bit, and then I'll reward and remove it, and then tighten it a little bit more on the next repetition, and keep going until the harness has been fully secured. To remove, the left hand will hold the back of the harness, and the right hand will gently pull the wing strap from left to right until it makes a large enough wing loop to remove it. Once you are able to fully tighten it against their chest and have the bird be comfortable and relaxed, you are ready to move on to the next wing. We are halfway there. The right wing will follow the exact same process as the left. I start the right wing by introducing the wing handling without the harness first, get his brain clicking into gear, and realizing that touching the right wing is an option now. I've chosen to start applying the right wing and harness outside of the harness application sequence, so I am not putting on his entire left side and then starting the right for the learning process. This way we will be focused on the right-hand side. We aren't creating conflict or potentially causing him to feel distress with his left side. Since we are starting something new and potentially stressful, we don't want to accidentally poison the entire left side that we just did just by making a mistake on the right. This way the two sequences are separated, and if an accident happens, it's way less likely to trash all of the work that you just did on the left wing. So the exact same process will follow. Head through the hole, practice moving the harness around, stroke the wing with the harness, practice how your hands will move on that side, all of that good stuff. Work your way up to tapping the wing, lightly shifting the wing, lifting it a little bit, and put all of those pieces together. Do not skip out on running fake harness application runs. Pretend to put the straps on so you can see whether or not your bird has good duration and comfort with the entire sequence before actually putting it on. It also helps you see whether or not what you have envisioned for how you'll put it on will actually work the way you want it to. I know I had to shift my handling technique quite a bit during this stage. My left hand was not able to grab the wing the way that my right hand was able to. So take your time with it. I know you're excited, you're halfway there, but rushing it will only sabotage you. When you're feeling confident about the right wing, it's time to start piecing it all together. Although they understood both pieces separately, it will take some practice for them to do both the left and the right wing back to back in one fluid sequence. So instead of jumping right into it, assuming your bird will be fine doing both wings back to back, do the full left wing and intro parts step by step of the second wing. Don't forget, this is still more duration they haven't practiced yet, more hand movements back to back they're not used to in this pattern. Break it down and ease them into it until you're able to do the full sequence. Similarly to the other wing, I do start closing the harness by pinching it closed so they can gradually feel the sensation of the harness touching their belly and the pressure involved with that. The pinching allows me to easily release the pressure and get the harness off rapidly if needed. I also find it just gives you more control over how you introduce them to the feeling of the harness tightening around their body. You can observe their body language and release the pressure effortlessly and quickly if needed. Closing up the harness is a bit different than tightening the other wing, and it does involve you needing both hands by the bird's chest. So if your bird is a bit more sensitive, you may want to break this stage down even further and just practice having your bird ignore your hands while pretending to fiddle near their chest, and perhaps just having their head in the harness with no wings yet and just practicing tightening and loosening the strap while it's on them, but still easy to escape from just in case. In this instance, I went straight from both wings to tightening it and it worked just fine for us, but other birds might need it broken down just that little bit more. So for us, I put the whole harness on, all of his wings, and I started lightly touching the apparatus on the front, treating and fiddling a bit more, treating and then fiddling a little bit more, and repeating that process until both hands were being able to fiddle on the front, adding various pressure and things like that. At this point, I found that Newt was pretty understanding of what the expectation was, so he didn't have too much struggle with finishing this off and allowing me to just tighten it the rest of the way. Now hold on there, I know you think you're done, you're not done yet. Yes, that's pretty much how you would teach a bird to wear the harness, but at this point, you will still have to spend a good chunk of time teaching them how to move with the harness on. On top of spending some more time building duration and teaching your bird how to sit with the harness on for longer periods of time, they will need help learning how to move about comfortably. You'll notice here I hold treats at different heights and angles to encourage Newt to shift his body weight and build more comfort with how the harness sits on him. As that confidence builds, you'll see him take steps, lean more dramatically, and slowly settle into how his body balances and feels now. Do remember, just because they're wearing it doesn't mean that they're 100% confident yet, so don't go rushing them outdoors right away. Spend a couple weeks inside, do some simple step-ups and target training drills, build up that recall, and make sure that they feel safe and in control before thinking about going outside. And that is the complete guide on how to harness train your parrot. It is a lot of work, it is a lot of consistency, and it will take a lot of time. If I were to offer one last bit of advice here, it would be to start this training in the late fall or winter when the weather is just terrible. If you start the training during the spring or the summer, you might feel motivated to kind of rush because the weather's so nice, you really want to get them out there. And if you start it in the fall or the winter, there's nothing exciting to take them outside to. The weather's terrible, you can't take them outside anyways. So that just helps you focus on the training and be less intent on rushing them outdoors. Additionally, you may find it helpful to start this training with a DIY harness. You can make a fake one out of string just for the specific use of training. So if it happens to get chewed or munched on and breaks, you're not losing out on a whole ton of money. I also found it helpful to actually start this process with a harness that was one size too big. This way, when it came to Newt learning to put his head through the actual head straps, the straps were a lot looser and easier for him to push his head through, and I just found that helped him bridge that gap a lot smoother and quicker than jumping straight into the correct sized harness. And as a final reminder before we close things off here, if you are looking into buying a harness, you can use the code FLOCKTALK, all one word, and the link in the description to save yourself 10% off your purchase of aviator harnesses. And a portion does go towards helping out the channel. But that will do it for today, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!